Hello everyone. Today we are going to be talking about nouns. As you know, a noun is a part of speech that has a particular function or particular functions, right? So I'm sure many of you are already familiar with nouns. You may have been taught that nouns refer to persons, places, things, or ideas. And yes, that is true, but there's so much more that needs to be said when it comes to nouns, and that is what we are going to do today. Because in the first part of this lesson, we are going to concentrate on the different types of nouns, and then in the second part, we are going to look at the functions of nouns within a sentence, okay? So like I said, this is a basic definition. Of course, it is not incorrect, but it's just basic, right? There are many different types of nouns, as you will see now. So the first type of noun that we're going to look at is going to be proper nouns, okay? So a proper noun or proper nouns are the names given to a specific person, place, or thing. All right, you remember that we said that nouns refer to persons, places, or things, right? So when we have a specific one of those, right, we have an example of a proper noun, okay? It is worth noting that these nouns are always capitalized. So it does not matter whether they occur at the end of a sentence or in the middle. They must always be capitalized, okay? Examples include Christopher, Spain, and Ferrari. And you see, they're all capitalized. Christopher, that is the name of a person. That's actually my name, right? That's the first name. Spain, well, I said, yes, first name, right. I was thinking whether, I was trying to consider whether that could be a surname or not, but who knows, right? Right. Spain, that is the name of a country. And Ferrari, that is the name of a car, or type of car, right? So as you see, these are examples of proper nouns. Proper nouns refer to specific names of people, places, and things. Now, the category from which these proper nouns are derived is what we call a common noun, right? So the categories from which these proper nouns are derived are called common nouns, okay? So let's see what a common noun is. Common nouns refer to the group or category from which proper nouns are derived. Therefore, they are non-specific and never capitalized. Okay, so we move from a specific noun in proper nouns to a non-specific noun in common nouns, right? So, and they're never capitalized, so we do not capitalize them, even if they start a sentence. But usually when these nouns are used at the start of a sentence, they're used with an article. So the article will be capitalized rather than the proper noun. But generally, these you be used lowercase when it comes to common nouns, okay? Examples include person, country, and cars. Now, these three nouns represent the groups from which these proper nouns emerge, okay? Person, Christopher, is a specific person. Country, Spain, is a specific country. And cars, Ferrari, is a specific type of car. So I hope that you understand, right? The common noun refers to the non-specific, refers to the general category or general thing, right? And the proper noun would be the specific noun that emerges from that group or category, okay? It sounds strange, or it may be a little strange that I chose to address proper nouns before common nouns, but the order doesn't really matter. As long as you understand the difference between these two, everything should be fine. Okay, so proper nouns refer to a specific person, place, or thing, and common nouns refer to the general group or category from which proper nouns are derived. So because common nouns are so general, there are many different types of common nouns. So common nouns can be broken down into three subcategories. We have abstract nouns, concrete nouns, and collective nouns, okay? So when it comes to an abstract noun refers to anything conceptual which cannot be perceived with the senses. When we say that something is abstract, we mean that it exists, but not in a physical sense, okay? Therefore, we cannot perceive it with our senses. We cannot see it, we cannot touch it, but it exists, okay? So examples include integrity, peace, and loyalty, okay? When children are young, they may only assume that nouns refer to items or refer to things that they can perceive with their senses. So this might be a difficult concept for young children, right? Because they can only think about items that are concrete or tangible, but abstract nouns or the ideas or concepts also are also nouns, right? They're just abstract. So when we look at integrity, integrity does not exist in of itself. It does not exist, but we can see examples of it or illustrations of it, right? But I can't physically see or physically touch integrity. The same thing can be said about peace and loyalty. These entities exist, but we cannot perceive them with our senses, okay? So yes, abstract nouns. On the other hand, we have concrete nouns, right? Now these refer to things which can be perceived with the senses, right? So if we can touch them, if we can feel them, touch and feel would be the same thing. If we can see them, right? If we can smell them, right? Examples include table, chair, and computer. We can see a table, we can touch a table, right? And the same thing can be said about when it comes to a chair, and the same thing can be said about a computer. So these are tangible entities, okay? Good. And collective nouns refer to a group or collection of people or things. As the name suggests, when we have a collective noun, we are talking about a group or collection of people or things. Even though the idea is plural, a collective noun is singular. So we use a singular verb, okay? So examples include team, world, and crowd. All of those are plural because they refer to more than one person or thing. But because they are classified as a whole, or they are seen as a whole, we use a singular verb. This is why they are called collective. So that's something you have to remember. When you have a noun that refers to a group of things or people, we use a singular verb, right? That's right. Team. A team comprises many persons. World comprises many different countries and people. And crowd obviously comprises many people. But all of those entities within each group are considered to be one. Therefore, they are singular. Now we move on to countable versus uncountable nouns. So if we want to break down concrete nouns and abstract nouns even further, we have countable and uncountable nouns. Because remember, concrete refers to tangible items, okay? And abstract refers to items or entities that do not exist in a physical sense, but they do exist, right? So concrete and abstract nouns can be countable and uncountable. As the name suggests, countable nouns are nouns which can be counted using numbers, of course. And it doesn't matter how you can use, what was I going to say? Even if the number is very high, you can count them. Yeah, even if there are many examples of the particular noun, they are countable. Okay? It doesn't matter how high the number is, but they can be counted. So these nouns can be singular or plural, and they are used with numbers and modifiers such as a or an. That would be the indefinite article. These would be the indefinite article. The definite article. Some we have, that would be in a quantifier, right? And many would also be a quantifier, right? Because these two words tell us the amount, but without being specific, right? So these are some of the words that will be used with countable nouns. Therefore, if we see these words with a noun, that noun is countable, right? Because if you say some people, we can count people. Many years, we can count years, right? That's right. So examples include a dog, that refers to one dog. 7 birds, 7 birds. And 4 houses, 4 houses, right? So you see that these are used with numbers. If we can count it using numbers, then this is an example of a countable noun. All right, so now we are going to proceed to uncountable nouns. Okay, so we move on to uncountable nouns. So uncountable nouns are also called mass nouns, are nouns that are impossible to count because they are either intangible or they are considered as wholes. So an example of an intangible noun would be information. That would be intangible, right? And wholes, an example of a noun that would be considered as a whole, it would be equipment, right? Mm-hmm. So they are considered as wholes, so they're uncountable, right? Traffic, uncountable. Mm-hmm. So nouns are impossible to count. Okay, let me read this part first. These are never used with the singular indefinite article a or an. Yeah, we don't say a traffic. We don't say a information or an information. We don't say an information. We don't say a traffic. We don't say an equipment. No. Those are uncountable. Okay? So what was I going to say? I was going to talk about substances that are homogeneous, like milk. And homogeneous just means that the substance is made up of the same type of material, right? Of the same kind. So milk, sand, salt, etc. Those are uncountable. You can't count salt. You can't count sugar. No, right? So those are uncountable. And remember, you never use the singular indefinite article a with them. We can't say a sugar. We can't say a milk. No. So moving along. Compound nouns. Compound nouns refer to two or more nouns combined to form a single noun. Examples include school bus, self-esteem, and haircut. So as you see in each example, we have two nouns that have been combined to form one, right? So school bus, they are separated by a space, school and bus. Self-esteem, these two words are separated by a hyphen, and haircut. Although they are together, you can see two nouns within the word. Therefore, this is an example of a compound noun when we have two or more words combined to form one, right? So if you can look at a word, even though we are talking about one word, well, yeah, these are all yeah, even if we're talking about one word and you can see multiple nouns within it, then that is an example of a compound noun, right? All right, so we have completed the first section, right? We have looked at all of the different types of nouns. Now we are going to proceed to the functions that are the roles that a noun can play within a sentence. So the first role is going to be the subject. A noun can be the subject of a sentence. Every sentence must have a subject, and that subject will either be a noun or a pronoun. As you know, a pronoun replaces a noun. So nouns and pronouns have similar functions, right? Lucas won the race. Lucas could be replaced by he, right? Lucas won the race. So Lucas, that's an example of a proper noun because it is the name of a person. So Lucas would be the subject of the sentence. Remember, for a sentence to be grammatical, it requires a subject. For a sentence to be grammatical, you must have a subject. So that subject can either be a noun or a pronoun. So this is the first function that, or the first role that a noun performs in a sentence. It will be the subject of the sentence, right? That's right. 2, as an object. So some sentences require a direct object if a transitive verb is used, and transitive verb is a verb that requires a direct object for the sentence to be grammatical. And excuse me. And a direct object, of course, refers to the person or thing that receives the action of the verb, right? So it responds to the question of who or what. The direct object will either be a noun or pronoun. So that person or thing that receives the action will either be a noun or a pronoun, right? In the case of a ditransitive verb, both the direct and indirect object will either be a noun or pronoun. So ditransitive means that the sentence requires two objects, a direct and an indirect. You need someone or something to receive the action of the verb, and then you also need someone or something to receive the direct object, right? So the former would be the direct object and the latter would be the indirect object, right? So let's look at some examples. The students read the book, right? I could say read the book. That tense wouldn't matter, but let's say read, yeah. The students read the book. The book in this case would be the direct object because the verb to read. Read what? The book, right? And I have the highlighted in red. The book would be a noun phrase because it has a determiner before it or an article before it. Book itself would be the noun, right? But if I highlight both of them, it will be a noun phrase. But I'm talking about the book, right? So book is the direct object because it responds to the question of what. What do the students read? The book, right? She gave the letter to Harry. So this is an example of a read will be a transitive verb. She gave the letter to Harry. So we have two objects. We have the direct object, the letter, which is the entity that receives the action, what was given, right? And Harry is the indirect object because that Harry responds to the question of to whom, right? So Harry received the direct object, which was the letter. You see? And of course, the letter would be an example of a common noun, and Harry would be an example of a proper noun, right? So when it comes to an object, a noun can be either the direct object or the indirect object, right? Or sometimes it can be both. If we are talking about a noun can be both the direct and indirect object if we're talking about a ditransitive verb, right? Very good. And 3, as subject and object complements. If a noun follows a linking verb, it performs the role of subject complement, right? So I just put A there, but yeah, just put A. Yeah, it performs the role of a subject complement. Yeah. So what is a linking verb? So a linking verb refers to a verb that does not describe an action, but rather a state of being. So the most common linking verb is to be. To be does not express an action. Therefore, the noun that is affected by the verb is not an object because objects are going to be recipients of actions, right? And because linking verbs are not actions, what follows, the noun that follows, we call those subject complements. Instead of objects, they're called subject complements. So the noun that follows is going to provide additional information about the subject, hence subject complement. For example, Mary is a doctor. Of course, if I highlight A, then it will be a noun phrase, but doctor will be a noun. So Mary is a doctor. Doctor provides additional information about Mary, right? As far as her job or occupation. So anytime we use a linking verb, usually verbs that deal with the senses and verbs that describe a state of being rather than an action, they are followed by subject complements, which means that the noun that follows them will provide additional information about the subject, and these verbs are not being affected by these nouns are not being affected by the verb, right? So we call these subject complements, right? And just remember, only when they follow linking verbs, right? All right, so let us continue and proceed to object complements. Okay, so we move on to object complements. So when a noun follows a direct object and it renames or defines the direct object, then the noun performs the role of an object complement. Okay, so in this particular role, the noun is going to follow a direct object, and that noun is going to rename or define it. Okay, so the committee made Jeff the leader. Jeff would be the direct object because Jeff receives the action of the verb, okay? And the leader is a noun phrase because I have the in it, but yeah, noun phrase, right? The leader would be defining or and renaming the direct object. So in this case, an object complement must follow a direct object. We call it a complement because it provides additional information. So this only applies to direct objects. So when we have a direct object in a sentence and we use a noun after it to either define it or rename it, that particular noun is performing the role of an object complement, right? It follows the direct object and it renames or defines it, right? Good. And 4, as appositives. So this is a similar situation. If a noun follows another noun and it is used to further define or identify it, that noun performs the role of an appositive. So for example, my wife, Abigail, is 27 years old. So we have my wife, that would be the subject, and then we have Abigail. So Abigail would be an appositive because it further defines and identifies the noun my wife, right? So it's a similar situation here. It's a similar situation. So Abigail further defines or identifies my wife. So we call that an appositive. The difference here is that this deals with an object, but here, when it follows the noun, right? But in this case, this will be subject position. When it's object position, then it is called an object complement. But otherwise, it will be called an appositive. Okay? All right, so this brings us to the end of this lesson on nouns. I hope that you were able to understand everything. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.